Yeah, so here we go again. I have migrated, driven a total of 701k. Day before yesterday evening to yesterday morning, I arrived at 4:45 in the AM. The grand distance per time ends up with an average of 90 kph total, not a moving average, a total average. I did have one break just shortly before midnight. Because first off, I wanted to enter my car cigarettes, which at that time was 2. The rest of the drive it was 8, so I smoked 1 per 70 kilometers on average, which is not too bad, I guess. I'm happy with it, anyways. Uh, Beside that, I did not drive with a single brake, while there still was other person traffic on road, not just lorries. I did about 120 kph average, and then at around 2ish in the AM, I started going flat out, or as close to flat out as one legally can, so just below flat out for legal purposes. Ended up going smoothly. Only one guy tried to kill me. I'm assuming guy because that's the majority of people on the road. Only one party. It's sexist of me to assume it's a guy, but only one tried to kill me, so that's pretty alright. Had to floor it hard while in the left lane and overtaking because they pulled out without giving a shit or not if I was there. Which means they were separated from their group because their group was behind me because I'd already overtaken them. But, well, that's how it happens. Today I've had 11, 12 cigarettes. No, this is my 11th or 12th. It feels like way more than it is for some odd reason. I guess it's just because I've been stressing. We'll get to why shortly. I guess we might as well get to it now. With uni, I had, well, my aspired supervisor, whom I aspired to have as supervisor, had raised the issue of perhaps not being eligible to be my supervisor due to being external. Upon this, I requested confirmation from the examination office, which I was promptly given within 23 hours and 50 minutes, for fact. The only bad thing about that is, whoopsie, they gave the confirmation without actually confirming, which means they didn't do their bloody job and they haven't got the spine to stand for it, or that doesn't matter that they haven't got the spine, one of the two, because, my supervisor has now changed. I spent the past 2 days drafting all kinds of emails I could be sending. In the end of the day, in all of them, I am in some way or another saying, you confirmed something was decided, you confirmed the decision, and then the decision was changed for whatever reason. Doesn't matter. I confirmed it. I did my due diligence. It's not even my job. It's just going above and beyond to cover my ass, In the end of the day, I've decided I cannot say something like that. They have to know themselves how spineless they are, or indecisive, I guess might be the better term. Who knows? Spineless is a bit judgmental, but I am a bit judgmental in this matter just because it's an emotional topic for me. Because I spent the past 2 days drafting approximately 3.5 pages worth of emails, in which time I could have written 10 pages of thesis. Which, well, past two days, but still, I did have a total of, I believe I'm repeating myself, I did have a total of like a lot of cigarettes yesterday. Today I'm not that bad yet. Might still go up, but the evening is not too late. It's 13 past 8 in the PM, so I don't think I'll manage yesterday's, and I'm happy if I'm staying below 20 for now. Particularly as I'm not taking the time to roll, I am smoking active cigarettes from Poland, though I have tobacco and all the accessories I need to roll, which I guess is not helping the issue. In the end of the day, what I've decided I'm going to end up most certainly saying to, in response to, oh, by the way, your supervisor has been changed, and the reason is external people can't be supervisors, so we had confirmed your supervisor was an external one prior. My response is most certainly going to be something along the lines of, I have taken notice of the change. As I have already been admitted for my thesis at this point 11 days ago, I'll put a date there. I am expecting no consequences to my disadvantage due to this or any other changes you may take. Because theoretically, to my understanding, them changing my supervisor at this point in time is as severe as them changing my thesis title and or working subject. Which is not something I'd want to do because, yeah, okay, now I've only got half a page, but I've got about 30 pages worth of content in my head. I just got to mechanically type it out. If they now change my thesis subject, I'm not going to get the thesis this year, you know. Well, I'll still get it because the standards are low. No offense, but it's a pain in the ass to be writing it, but it's just proving you can sit down and write 40 pages or stand up and write 40 pages. It's not actually proving anything beyond that. So I can write a thesis on just about anything. I could probably write an illustration one, but there's no point in that because I have decided on this title and they have accepted it as of 17th of June of this year. Then again, they had also accepted my proposed supervisor. Just for after the fact, stating, oh, by the way, you remember how we accepted your suggested supervisor and we even confirmed it independently when you asked? Oh yeah, nah, that's not going to do. I mean, that's no takesies, backsies really decisions like that because they affect me and my workload. And I mean, they can't change the title, so I'm simply going to explicitly state that I am expecting no disadvantages to me due to their changing of opinions. Because, come on, it doesn't matter if they can legally be my supervisor or not. If you've previously said they can legally be my supervisor and you're the authority deciding who my supervisor is, you should have the spine to stand up for that and say, oh yeah, we did say that. And it's a bloody committee, it's not just an individual person. And I was in the committee for 2.5 years and I was never asked a thing, so I don't think the committee actually do anything. I think the head of the committee just decide and don't even get anyone else's blessing. There's also the committee that have decided, yes, I am entitled to my disability accommodation, and they will enforce it for me, but have not enforced it for me. So I'm having a real hard time taking these people seriously. Because you say, oh yes, and oh yes, I confirm it is that way, and then you take a backseat. No takesies, backsies, you know. It just shows your word not being worth squat. The pressure differential it takes to speak. And I shouldn't be getting upset about this. I should just not associate with them. Then again, I am associating with them for at least another couple of months because I want my bachelor's degree, and I've been there for 3 years, 3.5 at this point. Oh man, like I just can't get my head around it. On the other hand, good news is that have been distracting enough for me to the point where I haven't thought about the Office of Student Loans / Grants in the recent past, so yay. Then again, I do have to think about it because I do need the money and I cannot afford to not have the money, but I believe I should start to get to the point where I should be acceptive, I believe is the correct phrasing, of their change, because I'm just not going to get the money realistically, because by now it's been 3 months since they should have gotten my letter. On the day ago, 3 months they should have gotten my letter. They claim they'll respond within a month and a half, well, within 6 weeks to 8 weeks. They have yet to respond. They aren't going to catch up with it, and I don't want to get a lawyer, man. Like, I need the money, yeah, but I'm starting to get more and more why people do the duck and dive. That being bending the rules to your own liking. Because in the end of the day, I've obeyed all the rules. I sent in the proper application, which is workload I should not have had in my eyes in the first place. Yet it requires more work on my end, which shouldn't have been in the first place, to get what I am entitled to. I have every right to get that money. In the end of the day, I believe this is why people do the duck and dive, and the duck and dive is not good for anyone because systems only work if all the components work. But it's not like it's in anyone's power to change the way the systems work. It's basically a cultural issue. got some road noise. Oh, there's a car coming, never mind. Is a cultural issue, and to resolve it require different culture. I don't believe I'll find this culture among humankind in my lifetime, which means I'll have to eventually try and carve out my own bit of earth and make that the culture there. Which I don't think is very realistic, but hey, one is allowed to have hot fever dreams, you know. I mean, if someone asks you to confirm something, you do not just say, "Oh yes, yes, sir," especially if you are an office of something. In this case, I'm talking about both kinds I'm interacting with at this time. You don't just say, "Yeah, okay, sir." You fucking gotta do your due diligence, man. Like, what's the point of doing anything if you aren't doing your job? At that point, it might as well just be slaving away in a factory. You gotta do it. But you don't do a job because you gotta do it. You do a job because it's something pleasurable to be doing during the daytime that make you a living. I mean, come on, people. There is enough people on this earth that for the right money, you will find someone willing to do just about anything and being happy to do it. We don't need a world full of bureaucrats who decide, oh, I'm going to do my job's worth and go home, and my job isn't worth much, so I'm not doing much, and I ain't doing my job right. Do your due diligence, man. I've done so much cover your ass work while at this uni and with the Office of Student Loans / Grants, BAföG. It's starting to not be funny, because the only way my due diligence is worth anything is if I take legal action. But taking legal action requires years of bureaucracy for at least a lawyer. It's going to stress my insurance unnecessarily. And why? Because people haven't done their due diligence in the ways I have. Yes, I've documented it all. Why? Because I like covering my arse, man. Yeah, it's just slightly upsetting and I'm rather emotional about it. This incompetence in service providers at a very early session. I talk about a pretty similar thing, I believe. Might have not called it that, but there is an early one. If you're seeing this, odds are you may have seen that. Thank you very much for watching, by the way. If decisions are not final, they are not worth much. And if you say you will have a decision by then, and there is a decision by then, but more than a week later you say, oh yeah, remember that decision we made? It's not worth squat. We're changing it. Then your word's not worth the paper take to write them on, man. Like, come on. I don't know if these people just don't know to do better. In which case, standard people are stupider than I thought, and I do not want to believe that. Though it is the least bad assumption toward the individual. The least bad assumption towards society is that these are just bad apples, spoiled apples that are rotting away, or that have been influenced by spoiled apples because they meant too much ether. Come on, I don't get it. People, just do your jobs. It's not that hard. I mean, if I'm doing your jobs, I'm covering my arse by explicitly asking you, this was the decision. Is this the correct decision? Yes, it was. Okay. I mean, all you have to do is respond to my prompts by actually looking, was this decision the correct decision? The moment I ask that and you respond in the affirmative, there should not be any takesies, backsies. It's like me saying after the fact, oh yeah, remember how I said I weren't going to do that? Yeah, I've done it anyways. Like, it's the base structure of our society of honour, I guess. What is your word worth if it's not worth squat? What can you do to fix it? You can't do anything to fix it, admittedly. Besides, actually put something on the line, either materialistic or controlled through a third party whom is still trusted. But your own word ain't squat. They could now say, oh, you don't got to do work and we'll give you badges. And I'd believe it just as much to them as I'd believe anything else. I'm just going to have to continue writing my badges. And my supervisor might not even know about film, or might know about film but not video art. But it don't matter, because the VJ supervisor I'd gotten to sign up for being my supervisor and had confirmed could be my supervisor, can't do it now. So, well, you know, I'll just do whatever supervisor and they'll be able to say, yeah, this is academically cited, but they won't get the subject matter. Like, what's the point even? I can write on gummy bears, on fucking variations of different grass you can find in the sticks. Dare I say, the second examiner is not paid enough to read the work, and then read the work and give feedback is like a bloody joke, you know, because, I mean, it's going to be 40 pages body. I know I'll do it, and I'll have to. But to actually read that and even look into any citations, and not blindly trust them, take enough time that with an hour's worth of meeting, you aren't being paid enough, man. And I did have an appointment with my preferred supervisor. We've already scheduled an appointment because, surprise, supervision of any value takes some time. I've cancelled that appointment today just because I did tell them I would not want to presume you to be up to spend your free time on this. And apparently your uni is not up for you being my supervisor, which means now I'll have a supervisor on paper, which in reality will just be my first examiner. Besides that, they won't be anything extra, so they won't even be supervisor. They might be on paper, I might call them supervisor on the paper, but in reality they'll know they haven't contributed, I'll know they haven't contributed, and everyone else will know as well. Still the 12th cigarette or 11th of the day, I believe. Haven't lit a cigarette while talking. I've only relit this one. Fuck yeah. Good news is, in the end of the day, no matter what they decide to change now, I do not believe, according to societal norms, they can expect me to take any disadvantage due to it or any excess work. And that is what I do intend to clarify with my response, saying, I expect no consequences to my disadvantage due to your changes. Go ahead and change what you want. Tell me when I need to be where, when I need to be where. When I need to be where, yeah, and why. And besides that, I think I'm just going to give up on the structure of uni. I'm just going to hand in my paper, do my thesis film, show up for defense of my thesis, and they'll not be able to not give me the bachelor's degree, because that's what a contract's about. Assuming I actually don't misquote also, which I don't think I would, and according to their affidavit at this time, I believe I can still use ChatGPT and so on. It's not like I will, because I don't get enough out of it. I don't get much out of it at all. It costs more time than it benefits me. But I'd warned them more than a quarter year ago that their current affidavit in the English language, because they are a German school after all, so English might only be their second language, for who knows, you know. I told them more than a quarter year ago they should look it over. They said, okay, we'll do. If they haven't done a job well, which might be a trend with that place. And if they haven't, it's not my fault, because I reminded them. But the way it's currently phrased, we have to cite generating AI, nothing about generative AI, and AI being an ambiguous term, but I accept that generative AI is what we generally accept as things like Midjourney or ChatGPT. Generating AI would be training my own data set in my book, which I would not be doing because I haven't got the compute and or time to do so. So I will not have to cite anything in regards to machine learning algorithms, because I am not generating any. Oddly enough, in contrast to we have to cite MS Word, which was a session at an earlier point in time about the affidavit, this might be we don't even have to cite ChatGPT, because we don't. I mean, in the end of the day, there's very few things where the literal text means much. Usually it's just a communication of thought. But things such as admission for a bachelor's thesis or an affidavit to a bachelor's thesis are something where the literal body means something. Arguing in the spirit of is not worth much in a case like that, particularly when I've done my due diligence and pointed out to you this might not hold up. Then again, with this uni, I would not be surprised if the day I hand in my thesis in writing with a printed out affidavit, they have their own printout of an adapted affidavit and expect me to sign it. To my understanding, they cannot legally do this. Then again, they cannot legally change my supervisor once they've blessed my supervisor and explicitly stated it. It's just the effort of getting a lawyer and getting all legal is too high for me to consider it. So it's not an option, really. Much the same with the affidavit. Because in the end of the day, at that point, I'll have to sign it with a date. And if I sign it with a date that is after the deadline, it'll be about as legally binding as not signing one at all. I mean, come on. Not a lawyer, not legal advice, just to be clear. But it feel like a bad joke, because yeah, I am not of a bad character, and I am going to try to play by the rules of society. But if an individual or a company, if a party decides they will show that they do not care about societal conventions, I have no reason to honour them toward them. Oddly enough, this is very much the same content I had with of a conversation I had with a tank truck driver at the petrol station not far away from here. I tanked 40 litres just because I went onto reserve. After 801k, which puts me at just over 9.5 litres per 100k, then again I was driving quickly, so that's perfectly fine. It's actually better than I would have expected, considering I was pretty close to flat out. Pretty close for legal purposes. Then again, flat out in this car is not far above the guided speeds. I mean, depending on where you are, going uphill, I might not be able to do the speed limits. Just saying, you know, because it's only got, what, 73 kilowatts? Weigh 2 ton empty? Nah. It got lorry gearing to the point where in urban environments I can go into top gear, but, you know, that's then at 1400 RPMs. And the red line, well, the actual red lines start between 5 and 6k, but the practical red line, where you don't get more torque out, is 4k revs. Which is fair enough, I guess, you know. It's funny how bodies such as uni think they're above the rules and there is not going to be consequences. Because at the end of the day, I will cover the philosophy of cover my own arse. And should it come to them changing the affidavit last minute, I will not sign it. Because at that point, I'll have to be working anyway. Have to have my job lined up. If they want me changing it after the fact, signing it after the fact. Which means by then I'll have the time to deal with the legal system and sue them to get my degree. Not that I'd wanna. I'd rather solve this humanely. You know. Where I am right now is at the bottom of a valley, at the top of which I lived not that long ago. No, 5 years ago I lived top of this valley, which is part of a what do you call it? Rehabilitative town. Historically baths, etc. This town's actually building a tunnel right now, which I'm very surprised by, because not like a very mountainous region, it's the start of the sticks. But they don't want all the through traffic, which is understandable. I haven't actually found out what time they'll aim to have it done by, but I might have to, for the next time I come here, reach out to someone to see if I can get a tour. Just because, why not, you know? I might not do public tours. But if I say I'm Berlin, my dad used to live in your town. I do film now, by the way. Here's some of the work I've done. They might let me, in which case it'll be worth it. Then again, my work is not very much so in the documentary realm, so who knows. With driving here, I have noticed I am very impatient with senior citizen drivers who do not get up to the speed limit ever, which is odd, because usually people go way above the speed limit. It's just take there to get forever to get there. English language, hard, I know. But here some people just stay at city limit speeds even if they've long left them, which is kind of odd, because to my understanding it's not legal. Then again, there is so many things not legal, and so many people do not give a shit, and the rules are not enforced. Session recently on that. Same here, though here it's different rules that aren't enforced, so, you know, different guidelines. Thank you very much for watching this, by the way. It means the world to me. So I'm just going to have to start getting my work done. Good news is here I've got so few things to do. If I'm not trying to figure out my due diligence and covering my arse about supervision for my thesis, surprise, that I believe I'll have to do it out of boredom, if for no other reason, besides having to get it done, obviously. So I think that'll work. Hope you got something you think will work too, you know. Stay safe, I'll see you around. Cheerio.